Hello friends, welcome back to my channel which is Pandol Hub, and today we are going to look into Java interview questions, which is a part 6, and mainly we are going to concentrate on the Java collections interview questions. What are the main differences between array and collection? So arrays are always of fixed size, that is, a user cannot increase or decrease the length of the array according to their requirement or at the runtime, but in collection size can be changed dynamically as per the need. Arrays can only store homogeneous or similar type objects, but in collection, heterogeneous objects can be stored. So arrays cannot provide the built-in methods for user requirements as sorting, searching, etc. But collection includes built-in APIs, which are the methods, which are the built-in APIs to use. So here it represents that once the arrays are declared with one size, they are fixed and they cannot be changed, whereas the collections, they change their size dynamically depending upon the elements being added there. And arrays can have only a same type of elements, a similar kind of elements, whereas collections can have heterogeneous different kind of elements being objects as stored in it. And arrays, what happens is when you declare an array, you don't have any built-in functions except for length and some basic things. But a collection itself has some built-in APIs for sorting, for getting the element, and you have a lot of built-in methods to access or to perform manipulations on the objects present in any collection. So what is the difference between array list and vector? So array list is not synchronized, whereas vector is synchronized. So we know what is synchronized. It is a thread safe. So array list doesn't provide any thread safety, whereas vector provides a safety. Array list is not a legacy class. Vector is a legacy class. So array list is not a legacy class, whereas the vector has been moved to a legacy. So array list increases its size by 50% of the array size. Vector increases its size by doubling the array size. So whenever you create an array list and it gets full by adding the elements, it increases its size by 50%, whereas in vector, it just doubles the size of the existing array when it gets full. So array list is not thread safe. As I already mentioned, it is not synchronized, so it is not thread safe, whereas vector is thread safe. So what is the difference between array list and linked list? Array list uses a dynamic array. Linked list uses a doubly linked list. So array list is nothing but array list is a collection data structure. So it internally uses array to store the elements. In the linked list, it uses a doubly linked list internally to store the linked list element. Array list is not efficient for manipulation, but linked list is efficient for manipulation. That is, whenever you change the elements of an array, since it's stored in an array, whenever you do a modification like insertion or deletion, it's not that much efficient. Whereas linked list, since it has the pointers towards the next node and the previous node, it's easy for us to do an insertion or deletion in the case of a linked list. Array list is better to store and fetch data. Linked list is better to manipulate data. So for storing and fetching data, for accessing, since array list implements the random access interface, when you're trying to get the data, it will be faster. Whereas linked list, the accessing when we come to accessing of data using the linked list, it is little. The performance is little less than the array list. But when you're trying to add or delete the elements, it's very easy for us in the case of linked list. Array list provides random access. As I already mentioned, since it implements a random interface, which is the marker interface, the accessing of elements or traversing is very fast. Linked list does not provide random access as it doesn't implement the random access interface. Array list takes less memory overhead as it stores only objects. Linked list takes more memory overhead as it stores the object as well as the address of that object. So array list doesn't have some memory overhead. That is, it doesn't store any pointer or it doesn't store any reference to the next element. Whereas in the linked list, we already know that including the value, every node is going to have the reference to the next node or the previous node. So what is the difference between iterator and list iterator? So the iterator traverses the elements in the forward direction only, whereas list iterator traverses the elements in backward and forward direction both. So the iterator can be used in list, set, and queue, but list iterator can be used in list only because this list iterator by name suggests it is specific only to a list. The iterator can only perform remove operation while traversing the collection. List iterator can perform add, remove, and set operations while traversing the collection. So the normal iterator, whatever we have, a generalized iterator can only remove, whereas a list iterator can add, remove, and set while traversing the collection. So what is the difference between fail fast and fail safe? Any changes, so coming to fail fast, any changes in the collection such as adding, removing and updating collection during a thread or iterating collection then fail fast through concurrent modification exception. So what happens is the fail fast represents whenever we modify a collection while adding or removing or updating a collection. That is when you are iterating a collection and while iterating you are trying to modify it. In that case it is going to throw the concurrent modification exception. But in the case of fail safe, it doesn't throw an exception when you try to modify during iteration. Array list and hash map collection are the examples of the fail fast iterator. Concurrent hash map and copy on write array list are the examples of a fail-safe iterator. The iterator doesn't require extra memory and time as it works on actual or original collection. This iterator has overhead in terms of memory and time as it works on a cloned or copy of the collection instead of the actual collection. So I said in the case of fail fast, when you're trying to modify the collection during iteration, it is going to throw an exception. Why? Because this iteration happens on the original collection, whereas in the case of fail safe, there is a copy of a collection maintained over which the iteration happens. So in that case, uh, when you're working on a copy of a collection, and when you do a modification, that is try to add or delete, in that case it is not going to throw exception. So iterators don't allow modifications of a collection while iterating over it. Fail-safe iterators allow modifications. So that is what the fail fast and fail safe is. Since the fail fast iterators work on the original collection, they throw a concurrent modification exception when modified. But in the case of fail safe, since they work on a clone or a copy of a collection, they doesn't throw any exception when accessed, that is when modified during iteration. So what is the difference between iterator and enumeration? The iterator can traverse legacy and non-legacy elements. Enumeration can traverse only legacy elements. The iterator is fail fast. That is, it throws concurrent modification exception when the collection is being modified during the iteration. Enumeration is not fail fast. That is, it doesn't throw the exception while traversing. The iterator is slower than enumeration. Enumeration is faster than iterator. The iterator can perform remove operation while traversing, whereas the enumeration cannot perform remove operation while traversing the collection. So what is the difference between list and set? The list and set both extend the collection interface. However, there are some differences between the both which are listed below. So the thing is, the list can contain duplicate elements whereas the set doesn't include duplicate elements, that is, it includes only unique elements. The list is an ordered collection which maintains the insertion order, whereas set is an unordered collection which does not preserve the insertion order. So the list interface contains a single legacy class which is a vector class, whereas set interface does not have any legacy class. The list interface can allow any number of null values, whereas set interface only allows a single null value. So what is the difference between hash set and tree set? The hash set and tree set, both classes implement set interface. Hash set maintains no order, whereas tree set maintains ascending order. Hash set is implemented by hash table, whereas tree set implemented by a tree structure. Hash set performs faster than tree set. Hash set is backed by hash map, whereas tree set is backed by tree map. So hash set performs faster in sense. In the tree set, there is a mechanism to maintain an order which is an ascending order. So that takes some time, because of which it is little slower than the hash set. So internally the hash set is backed by hash map. That is, internally hash set is maintained by a data structure called the hash map, whereas tree set is backed by tree map. So internal data structure which is used by the tree set is a tree map. So what is the difference between set and map? Set contains values only, whereas map contains key and values both. So set contains unique values, whereas map can contain unique keys with duplicate values. That is, set contains only values, whereas map is a key value pair. And in the set, we have only unique values, whereas in the map, the keys should be unique, where the multiple unique keys can have duplicate values. Set holds a single number of null value, whereas map can include a single null key with a n number of null values. So the set holds only a single null value as a value, whereas map includes just one null key with n number of null values. So what is the difference between hash set and hash map? Hash set contains only values, whereas hash map contains entries, that is key value. So hash set can be iterated, but hash map needs to be converted into set to be iterated. So hash set contains only value, so we can directly iterate it, but whereas hash map, since it's a key value pair, either we can iterate over the key set or a value set. So first we need to generate the key set or value set from the hash map, and then we need to iterate based on the value or the key whichever we need. Hash set implements set interface, whereas hash map implements a map interface. So this is the one. This is the parent class. The parent interface of a hash set is a set, whereas hash map is a map. Hash set cannot have any duplicate value, whereas hash map can contain duplicate values with unique keys. So as already mentioned, the hash set cannot have duplicate values, whereas the map, where we have the key and value, you can have unique keys. The keys always should be unique, but it can have multiple values which are duplicate. Hash set contains single null value, whereas hash map can hold a single null key with n number of null values. So that is understood from the statement. So what is the difference between hash map and tree map? Hash map maintains no order, but tree map maintains ascending order. As I said, whenever we go to a tree map, there is an order internally maintained, which is an ascending order, whereas hash map doesn't maintain any order. Hash map is implemented by hash table, whereas tree map is implemented by a tree structure. So the internal data structure which the hash map uses is a hash table, whereas tree map, it uses a tree structure. Hash map can be sorted by key or value, whereas tree map can be sorted by key. So in a hash map, you can sort the hash map collection using both key and values, whereas in the tree map, it can be sorted only using keys. Hash map may contain a null key with multiple null values, whereas tree map cannot hold a null key but can have multiple null values. So in the hash map, where we have a pair of keys and values, we can have one key as a null, and we can have multiple null values, whereas in the tree map, all the keys should be non-null values. You can't have a null object as a key, but you can have multiple null values. What is the difference between hash map and hash table? So hash map is not synchronized, whereas hash table is synchronized. So synchronized itself depicts that it gives a thread safety. So hash table is synchronized and gives a thread safety, whereas hash map doesn't. Hash map can contain one null key and multiple null values. Hash table cannot contain any null key or null value. So it's obvious from the statement, hash map is not thread safe since it is not synchronized. So it is useful for non-threaded applications. Since the hash table is synchronized, so it is thread safe and it can be shared between various threads. Hash map inherits the abstract map class, whereas hash table inherits dictionary class. So how to synchronize list, set and map elements? So yes, the collections. So I said that the hash table is synchronized by default, but we have other collections also which are not synchronized. So those collections can also be made explicit synchronized. So we have few pre-written, pre-provided methods which help us to convert the existing collections into a synchronized ones. So collection class provides methods to make list, set or map elements as synchronized. So for example, you have the following methods like synchronized list. So this method converts the list into a synchronized list, and synchronized set, it converts the set to a synchronized set, and synchronized sorted set. So here this set is sorted and you're making the sorted set to be synchronized, and the synchronized map and synchronized sorted map. So these methods, so they help us to convert the existing normal collections into a synchronized collections. So what is the difference between the remove method of collection and remove method of iterator? So collection interface defines remove method to remove objects from the collection. So basically both the remove, what it will do is it will remove the objects from the collection. So list interface adds another method, remove of index, which is used to remove objects at a specific index. We can use any of these methods to remove an entry from collection while not iterating. So we have two methods. One is the remove method, remove of object, which removes the element from a collection, and the list interface provides an additional remove method where it takes the index. So at that particular index, we can remove the element from the list. So things can change when you iterate. Suppose you're traversing a list and removing only certain elements based on logic, then you need to use iterator's remove method. This method removes the current element from iterator's perspective. So when you're trying to iterate a collection, and for example, if the value is greater than or something or less than or something, you want to remove those elements from the collection. That is, you're modifying a collection based on a condition while you are iterating. So in that case, if you use iterator's remove method, it will not throw a concurrent modification exception for us. So if you use collections or lists remove method during iteration, then your code will throw concurrent modification exception. So that's why it's advised to use the iterator remove method to remove objects from collection. So whenever you want to perform a modification on a collection while you are iterating, so in that case, you have to go for a iterator remove method so that it will not throw the concurrent modification exception. But if you use collections remove method to remove elements during iteration, then it will throw the concurrent modification exception. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope these questions were helpful to you. Thank you. Please do like, share, and subscribe. And please let me know your comments if you have any. Thank you.